Hi, my name is Vic Mignogna, the voice of Edward Elric from Fullmetal Alchemist, and guess what? You're watching Flame Runner.
Alphonse is taken prisoner by the Milosians. However, Julia apologizes and says she will try to get him out. Ashley explains how he came to be where he is, and demands that he takes Julia. However, Julia refuses, claiming that the valley is her home and that she must protect it. Meanwhile, Ed descends into the valley looking for Al. However, he is met with hostilities from the Milosians. Ed demands that the Milosians take him to whomever is in charge, which he ends up forcing one of the Milosians named Pedro to do for him. However, after hearing about how much the Milosians have struggled, he removes Pedro's bonds. But suddenly they are attacked by the Chimera from earlier.
That bastard again. Whew, that was close, huh? Hey, Pedro! Long live Milos.
You just don't give up, do you?
Pedro was a good man, and you murdered him! You're gonna pay!
Thank you! That is the reaction Ed should have when someone dies, even if it's someone he doesn't know very well. In fact, that's a reoccurring problem with this movie. Is it just me, or is everyone a little desensitized to death? I mean, yes, there was that moment I mentioned earlier, but there are also other examples. One of which is when Ashley fries one of the black bats, and no one seems to hold any animosity towards him because of that. Sure, they don't trust Ashley because of his aggressive insistence to take Julia with him, and because he mocks their cause. However, did anyone remember Joe? Does he mean anything to you guys? Also, Alphonse seems to accept the Milosians way too easily. I mean, rescuing Julia is just something that he would do, but wouldn't he hold a little bit more animosity after watching them shoot and kill Amestrian soldiers? Now, you could argue that given the circumstances it's justified, and as we'll later learn, the senior staff of the military is made up of people who are willing to sacrifice their entire nation to gain immortality, and the lieutenant stationed here is genetically engineered to be a prick. But Alphonse should have a little bit of animosity, at least at first, towards people who are killing soldiers of his own country. Getting back on track, the Crichton siblings do some catching up as they recall one of their earliest memories. Yeah, because that is the reaction someone would have after getting their ears pierced. The Crichtons respond to the sounds of shouting and find the Chimera. Alphonse leaves his cell and reunites with Ed. Together they manage to take down the Chimera. Meanwhile, we cut away to this Crichton general with a mask.
We found him. The valley, a large cave to the west. Release the next Chimeras. Sir.
Who is somehow watching these events as they unfold. Yeah, another spoiler, we never get an explanation of how he's able to do this. Everyone retreats to the underground lake, where their scent will be shielded from the Chimeras. After that summary of the plot thus far, I can now go over all the exposition and backstory that I've been skipping over. For centuries, Milos has been an independent nation. The city to the east, that is now Table City, the valley that at the time wasn't nearly as deep, and Mount Poros to the west were all part of Milos. However, 4 centuries ago, the Crichtons annexed Milos. Hoping to find the legendary Sanguine star, they forced the Milosians to mine the valley. The star was never found. Then the Amestrians came. They offered to liberate Milos from the Crichtons. The Crichtons retaliated, but instead of using their own troops, they forced the Milosians to fight for them. They successfully drove the Crichtons west of the valley. However, Amestris deceived them and took the new called Table City for themselves and drove the Milosians into the valley. Now Kratos stands on the west and Amestris to the east, and Milos is trapped in the middle of the conflict. Living off the trash that is dropped into the valley, Julia and Ashley's parents were researching alchemy to try and find the Sanguine star. They were persecuted by the Milosians as their research in alchemy was considered a taboo, and when Amestris invaded, they were offered a position in the Crichton military to continue their research, and they left the valley. However, years later they were murdered by a wolf chimera. Ashley fled and ran to Amestris, while Julia was thrown back into the valley, where she was cared for by the Melosians. Julia and the Melosian resistance plan to raid Table City and find the star. Once they have the star, they will have the power to create an independent Melosian nation. Ashley offers to direct them towards the star. The location was given to him by his parents. However, the legend of the Sanguine star sounds awfully familiar to Ed.
The stone, is it bright red?
You know of it?
By a different name. We call it the Philosopher's Stone. Julia, you have to listen to me. If this Sanguine star is the same thing known in Amestris as the Philosopher's Stone, then the ingredients for it...
The ingredients for it are human lives.
Human lives? You mean...
Yes. Immortality is created from cruelty, from combining many finite lives and transmuting them. It's no philosopher's stone. It's the stone of a greedy fool stained with blood.
We could never use something like that! All of our struggling, and it's come to nothing!
Ah, great, Al. Now we have to go find Dr. Marco and get him to do a truth-behind-truth speech.
That's not true. Our work is not in vain, Julia. Take a moment to look at the people around you. We're all willing to risk our lives. There's nothing we wouldn't sacrifice for freedom. If all this is true, if the Sanguine stars really do require human blood, they can have ours. I am more than happy to give my life to secure our nation's future.
What are you saying? You mean you'd offer up the lives of everyone here?
Don't you see? There are some things a man would prefer to give his life for rather than live without.
Well, Julia! Are you willing to sacrifice other people's lives in order to make your dreams come true? Is that your idea of happiness?
In all honesty, this is actually a well-set-up conflict. And I won't explain why until part 3.
With our current strength and numbers, we have no hope of winning against Creta or Amestris.
We must go after the power of the Holy Land. Once we have that, then nobody can defeat us. If we want freedom, we need the Sanguine Star.
Do you have any idea how much blood you're about to spill? And to what end?
Turn back! It's too risky! The city is insane!
We've come too far to just give up now.
The second cordon has been breached!
Don't do it!
The star is born. Fullmetal Alchemist, the sacred star of Milos. Next Saturday, 1:30. Only Toonami on Adult Swim.